Remember when I said the conceit of this video series was that I'd write something about each episode of Neon Genesis Evangelion? Well, this video sure is something. Episode 3 isn't exactly my favourite episode of Eva, it's probably my least favourite episode of all of Evangelion. And I don't have anything all too cutting or insightful to share about this episode, but I promised something, so I'll deliver something. That thing killed Judeau. This video will be shorter than usual. Judeau, if you were unaware, is the most overrated character in the everlasting all-time great manga Berserk, written by our god and yours, Kentaro Miura. And in the climax of the Golden Age arc, also known as not the best arc in Berserk, this little event called the Eclipse happens that you've likely heard some rumors about. Basically, everybody dies and the main character is forced to watch as his girlfriend is sexually assaulted by his former best friend turned demon prince. And it's a whole thing. But one of the characters that dies in this event is our titular featured star, Judeau, when he tries to scurry Casca, the girlfriend we were just talking about, out of this demon-infested situation. The demons, more correctly the apostles, chase after them, including this chicken fella, and eventually they are stopped and forced to confront this bloke, who looks like this. Very similar to the angel in this episode. See, we were always going somewhere with this. Eventually the two of them take it down, surprisingly. Casca does have an official registered apostle killed to her name, Slay Queen, but in the process Judeau is skewered through the chest by this apostle's tentacle limbs, and he eventually bleeds to death. Therefore, that thing killed Judeau, and the title for today's video. Evangelion did it first, if you were wondering. Evangelion first airing in 1995, and Storm of Death 2, the chapter in which Judeau dies, coming out only the following year in June of 1996, according to the Berserk wiki. I don't know, I wasn't there. This video isn't about Berserk stealing this design or this idea from Eva, of course. If the link was proven, it's probably just a gentle homage, but it does bring up an interesting question. Where did this monster design come from, and how would I even go about researching it? These two designs are similar, but it's probably more likely that both Berserk and Evangelion are referencing something previous that I just don't have the cultural context to be aware of, rather than each other. But still, it's a fun little connection, right? Everything is Devilman after all, especially Berserk and Evangelion. So perhaps there's some Devilman demon I'm forgetting that looked exactly like this? Maybe it's a reference to a monster or demon synonymous with Japanese culture that I'm just unfamiliar with. But rather than researching it for myself, I thought I'd talk about this very basic connection in my episode 3 video because I've got nothing else interesting to talk about, and somebody out there will point out what's going on here. Sometimes I impress myself with my own intelligence. That thing did kill Judeau, and Shinji sure did get that thing in this episode. But what else is there to talk about regarding this episode? It happens before episode 8, so I don't have an excuse to talk about her yet, and also because she's not around yet, this episode isn't as good. Plus there's very little Rei. This episode is the introduction of most of our school characters, including a character I used to hate in Toji, as well as Kensuke, someone I've always been mostly neutral on. I do like Toji now though. There's a kind of interesting scene at the end of the episode where after Toji was a dick to Shinji all episode, blaming him for putting his sister in harm's way, he realizes how stressful and dangerous being a pilot of the Eva must be, and sympathizes with him and goes to call Shinji, and it's kind of left ambiguous whether or not Toji dialed the number and then couldn't go through with his apology, his masculinity and pride getting in his way, or if he did call with his hand in his heart for Shinji just not to pick up. That's kind of an interesting conversation we could have, but whatever happened doesn't really say much about either character or their relationship overall. Moving forward anyway. They eventually become good friends and are for the rest of this series until, well, we aren't up to that episode yet. What else is there to say about this episode? I like how the urinals are drawn, that was nice. The continued characterization of Misato, as limited as it is in this episode, is also great. She's a queen. They introduced the Hedgehog's Dilemma through Ritsuko this episode, but you don't need another video explaining that to you, so I didn't talk about that. The class's reaction to Shinji being the pilot is cute and fun, but that can't really carry a whole video. Honestly, there's lots of little things in this episode that are interesting, but I couldn't find a way to make a cohesive video connecting them all while also making a new point. So this is what you got. A joke video kind of about Berserk. Hopefully episode 4 will lead to a more interesting video. Support links in the description below. Thanks.